location that made it more accessible to people? And then how does their work in public help engage the community? How do they respond to it? Which elements did you find the most coming up most frequently in the pieces from your notes, like looking back to your notes? And then do any of these works express a narrative or a personal story from the artist? And the last question is, if you were assigned to create a piece of public art, what would you create?
Do you guys have any feedback about these questions? So these are the questions that we'll pose to them as a reflective tool when we come back to the classroom after we're done with our tour.
Oh, I thought we were asking it in front of the art piece.
Yeah,
No.
Those questions felt like amazing because Roger's whole thing was about public art, and he was like, public art isn't really essential, not really necessary. It's if the community wants to embrace it in a sense, because then they're allowing the community to have free speech, and then it becomes woven into the fabric of the community. So I don't know how I can tie that into to my part. So when it comes to that question,
Well, that's interesting. Public art not being essential, and yet we're making a lesson plan.
it's not essential.
Well, maybe that could be like one of the responses, like after the students kind of give their response, maybe you can add it in and say, well, you know, sometimes artists don't necessarily, you know, follow.
And this is what Roger Berry said about his work.
They have different philosophies on public art and what it's about.
How do we like, what if a kid is like, I don't see how this connects to my community? How do we respond to that?
How would you guys respond to that if a kid said that?
Because it's in your space, and whether, I don't know, just maybe because you haven't noticed it before, but how do they feel now that they know that it's there? Maybe
You could do a thinking routine that's something like, I used to think, but now I think. Remember that one? That might be a good one to bring in at the end.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't feel like it does, but just knowing that it's there now, does it change their perspective?
That's true, I guess, because like, just because you don't know about it doesn't mean that it's not relevant.
Yeah. So that's how I kind of felt like before we went on the tour. I was like, public art. But then after like we got to like research the artist and know more about it, then I feel more connected to it. And then I'm like, okay, well now I see like more of the importance of
And
the
now
art.
their work is public art because it's up at the top, up on the top. So now they're a piece of the public art.
I mean, that's exciting.
Yeah. So are we gonna take them past?
Yeah, we're
their
going to take
own
them
work,
past
too?
it, yeah.
So
That's
then-
so exciting.
Yeah. So
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
like, if you're down a park.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, it's just harder for me to see it because like Louis Stanley like
Yeah.
directly connects it to the community. Like
Yeah.
it has people from the community.
But that's a really good thing to bring up, and maybe we can show some slides of Louise Stanley's piece when we come back.
Yeah.
But a really good thing to bring up to them is like, there is a variety of ways that people make public art. Sometimes it's really, you know, direct and narrative,
Yeah.
and it really is like a reflection of the community. And sometimes it's more conceptual, or it's about the spiritualness of the place, or the kind of mood or feeling, space. You know, like the Roger Berry was about the light of the place,
Yeah.
and how.
The emotion that you
Yeah.
get when you go in. And it was also kind of supposed to depict like a trance moment from old to new.
Right.
That's also why it was built there too. So.
Oh, can you put that in your thing?
Oh yeah.
That's a really important thing. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Okay,
Should I read?
go.
No, wait, no,
Go ahead.
no, no.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Alex.
No, I was gonna say, and also if they feel like it doesn't necessarily reflect their community, you can just talk about how it engages the community in some way. Because I mean, Sheila's piece may not necessarily reflect the community, but I mean, it's more meant to engage like people.
That's a
within
really
it.
good point.
Right,
Really good
right.
point.
Cool. Okay.
Okay,
Should
so
I read mine?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the three questions I'm opening with her: how do you feel when you see her pieces? What do her colors mean to you, and what do you think she's trying to say with her color? And how would the community relate or interpret her piece? So these are bullet points. Catherine Courtney is a local Emeryville artist. She is focused on the beauty marks make on a page and the texture that it creates. Line, texture, and color are very important to her. The imagery she chooses becomes the lines and symbols that create a conceptual